Hey, welcome once again to the Be the Leader podcast. Very excited once again to have an amazing leader with me today. I'm really excited to talk with Ruthann Bowen today. Ruthann has been not only a friend, she's been a coaching client, but I've also watched her journey and watched her leadership journey over the past few years. And it's been really kind of cool to watch and to be a small part of her journey. And I'm glad to welcome Ruthann to the podcast today. Welcome, Ruthann.
Thank you so much. I am so looking forward to our conversation. I always enjoy talking with you.
Oh, I am too. I am too. Let's go back a little ways because I know that in your history, in your early part of your journey, you got a really cool brand as where you kind of started, and so talk about that just a little bit, and then maybe give us a little bit of your path, how you got to where you are today.
Sure, absolutely. So back in the day, and we're not going to say how many years ago,
We're not going to say that, no.
but back in the day, when I first got started, my original career was actually in public relations and marketing. And I absolutely loved it. It was so me. It was so my personality. And I had the privilege of working for Warner Brothers Records in Nashville, which is the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
And what a fabulous dream job that was for, a young 20-something working with artists and traveling and getting the backstage pass and working with media and, being behind the scenes in the green room at the Today Show and all this kind of fun stuff, right? So fabulous job. It was great. It gave me just a really nice foundation to springboard me for what was going to be my future. So I worked at Warner Brothers Records for 5 years, and I had a wonderful mentor. The person who hired me, actually, Barry Landis, he had a huge impact on who I am as a professional and how the rest of my career went. And, having been at Warner Brothers for 5 years, he was watching me grow and develop as a professional. And we went to lunch one day, and he said something that I will never forget because it wasn't even on my radar. And he said, you really should consider opening your own PR agency. And I was like, what? No way. This is a nice, comfy job. Why in the world would I want to leave? Right? But that planted the seed in me to really start investigating. Maybe there's something more out there beyond just the corporate box that I'm living in right now. Yeah. And so I took his advice and I started the Bowen Agency, and I was a freelance entrepreneur doing the same job that I was doing at Warner Brothers, but on my own terms. And it was a real eye-opener for me. It was scary. Sure. You and I have talked about that wall of terror.
Yep, exactly.
And, branching off and doing your own thing is a scary thing. But boy, did I love it. I mean, it was just, I felt like I was finally, I was not the square peg in the round hole. I was the round peg in the round hole. Yeah. And it felt really, really good. So I grew the Bowen Agency. I did that for the next 5 years of my career, and worked with Veggie Tales, which is a very big Christian children's video series. I did the Women of Faith conference. I worked with several authors, Bob Briner, which if any of you are leadership people, you may have heard of Bob Briner, Leadership Lessons of Jesus. So anyway, I had a huge list of clients and just loved it. It was just a great experience for me. Then I had my kids and I was like, yeah, this isn't going to work.
This isn't working so well.
So, I was very strict about, I wanted to be able to give 100% to my business, which meant quiet in the background and being able to be fully present and fully focused. And I could not do that with a little baby, just me. That was just me. I just couldn't do it. So put the career on the back burner, took the next 15 years off. And, when you flash forward and now your kids are teenagers and you find yourself with a little more time on your hands, and I don't do well with time on my hands with nothing to do. I get bored very, very quickly. So I ventured back into starting up my own business, but this time, instead of doing public relations, because the public relations landscape has changed so much from
Mm,
the time I got out to the time I re-entered the workforce. I decided that, I think maybe I want to do something different.
yeah. Hmm.
So I took actually a part-time job at my kid's school, and part of that job description was designing websites. So here's
Oh,
where the website
oh,
connection comes in.
interesting. Okay, cool.
So my directive was to bring their online presence into the 21st century. And so that was my introduction to web design. And I rebuilt their website from scratch, and was introduced to the platform called Wix, which you and I have talked about before.
Yeah.
Um, and that literally started a whole nother journey for me, reinventing myself, going from PR to web design. And what I've found is it's all marketing,
Yeah.
right? You have your PR arm, but now we have this digital arm called online presence that
Right.
is so very, very important and is a huge piece of the marketing puzzle today for small
Hmm.
business owners. So it's kind of a cousin. I look at it as kind of a cousin to what I
Sure.
was doing. So I opened
Absolutely.
up the Bowen agency again, reopened it, but this time as a web design firm, a digital agency.
Okay.
And as a result of that, came in contact with other web designers who were also doing fabulous work. And I was introduced to a guy named Derek Spearman down in South Carolina. And Derek and I started talking one day about what we like about what we do, about what we don't like about what we do, because he was a freelance entrepreneur web designer as well. And through the course of that conversation, he said, all I want to do is just design all day. And I thought, oh my gosh, yeah, no, that's not what
That's
I
not
want to
you.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I want to sell your designs all day. Like, just,
Sure.
I could do that with my eyes shut. So
Yeah.
we decided we would pull our strengths together and form
Mm.
another digital agency. So now we have EastCamp Creative, which is his strength of design. His designs are incredible.
Oh yeah, they
And
are.
then,
They're beautiful.
oh my gosh, he's an amazing designer. And now I have my skill of the whole sales, marketing, PR background. And so we've merged together. Our philosophy is if you allow people to work in their strength, you will have a strong company.
Oh,
And
I
so,
love that.
yeah,
Oh, say
yeah,
that again because I think for those of you who are watching and are in leadership, I think this is an incredibly important concept.
yeah. So we each allow us to work in our strength, and we've built our company based on that foundation because
Mm,
we believe that when you allow people to work in their strengths, then you will have a strong company. And so that's how
yeah.
we will be moving forward.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, Ruthann. That is so good, and it's so key. I think so many leaders really need to focus on that. I think our human nature is to focus on our weaknesses and what let's help our weaknesses or let's shore up our weaknesses. But honestly, if we spend that time focusing on our strengths and then combine our strengths with others who kind of fill in our weaknesses, man, we
Mhm.
can do so much. I've found that as in my own leadership journey as well. That's really a golden nugget. I think if there's
Mhm.
nothing else that people get out of this conversation, I think that's one that's really, really key. So I love that you brought that up. That's really
Sure.
cool. I love
Yeah.
it.
Well, and the key also is having complementary strengths.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
I was the design person and, Derek's a good design person, we can see how we would probably clash because
Sure.
we would be fighting for something that, this looks better or this looks better. And, we're not about that. We
Right.
swim in our own lanes,
Sure.
but we complement each other. So his strength is the design, my strength is sales and marketing. So they're complementary strengths, and that's where the strength of the foundation comes from.
Yeah, I love that. As you look back on just your journey so far, what would you say are some of the lessons that you've learned just in the maybe in the process of creating East Camp Creative? Could be anything really, but what are some lessons that kind of come to mind for you?
Partnering with someone you get along with.
Absolutely.
Because there have been so many times where I've said to Derek, I can't imagine working with someone that we could not have open conversations like this.
Sure.
Partnering with someone who has the same vision, who has the same work ethic,
Mm,
someone who is, again, complementary to what it is that you do. That
mm,
is so key. Don't just
yeah.
jump into business with someone because either they have a lot of money to do it, or you kind of think maybe you're going to get along. It's very easy to hop onto that great idea
Hmm.
without taking that step back to see, is this the right person I should be carrying that idea with? Because we've all heard of those stories of the business partners that are now in mediation, trying to
Yeah.
get out of whatever it is they got into. So I think taking the time to step back and really evaluate who it is you're starting a business with
Mm.
is so very, very important. And finding
Oh, yeah.
someone that you get along with and you have those same ideals and values, that is so very, very important.
Yeah. I think that's great as far as thinking about, our individual strengths, and yet they're different, but yet if our values are the same, like you were mentioning, our work ethic,
Mhm.
our the way we see, life, the way we see our vision for the business,
Yes,
those are so key. And then we utilize our strengths to carry out that vision and create the business that we want.
exactly.
Um, that's awesome. So talk a little bit then about what you're doing today, website
Mhm.
design, and being able to have a just killer website as the presence, as the marketing
Tool.
cornerstone, if you will,
Yes.
for a business. Talk a little bit about that. Why is that important in today's world? And what are some of the things that you're seeing?
Yeah. Well, it's no surprise 95% of people, right, are heading
Yep.
here for
Yep.
everything that they do.
Yeah.
Everything. So having a high performing online digital presence is so crucial in today's marketplace.
Yeah.
So a lot of times what I hear small business owners saying is, oh, my website is not working. I'm not making any revenue from it. I don't know why I'm spending time, focusing on that. Well, this right here is your most important marketing, like you said,
Cool.
cornerstone. That's
Yeah.
the perfect word for it. So, moving into 2020, I really believe that small business owners, whether you're, small, mid, large size, whatever, just starting out to having been around for 50 years, really focusing in on honing that digital online presence is going to be crucial, I
Hmm.
think, for the success of what you're going to see by the end of 2020 and moving forward. Because there is so much traffic on those smartphones or on online, your online digital presence, I think what happens is small business owners uh, undervalue
Mm.
the um, the impact that that website has.
Okay.
So here's the typical journey that I see small business owners taking. They come up with this great idea, and it's a fabulous idea, and they start thinking about all the things that they need to do, and they know they need marketing, they know they need social media, and they know they need a website presence, right? So they're thinking about, well, where am I going to spend that money?
Mm.
Well, there's a whole lot of DIY website platforms out there. I'm just going to do that myself and try and save myself a little bit of, a little bit of cash.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake.
Yep.
Biggest marketing mistake that you can make.
Yeah.
So they end up DIYing it, or spending very little time or money on it, and they end up with a really sad, tired online digital presence, and then they wonder why it's not working the way that it should.
Yeah.
There's so much that goes into the development of a website. It's not just putting your information up for people to find it. There's a whole
Mm.
strategy. There's a whole,
Mm.
call to action and figuring out who your ideal client is. There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
So I use the analogy of building a house, right? I
Yeah.
can build my own house. Sure, I can go on YouTube like that lady did. She went on YouTube and built her own house. I
Yeah.
could do that. But should I do that? Yeah, probably not.
We're not even going to talk about that for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even want to go onto YouTube and attempt that.
Right, exactly. There are just some things you should not do. Some things you
Right.
really should leave to a professional. And with the
Absolutely.
importance and the value of that online presence, I really strongly urge people to make the investment of hiring a professional to put that online presence together for you, because that's what people are judging you on.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
judging you. You
Yeah.
know, we all like this no judgment zone, not
Yeah.
happening with your
Yeah.
online presence.
We're human.
As
Yeah.
soon as somebody lands on your website, they're judging you, they're
Right.
sizing you up, they're
Mm-hmm.
researching you.
Yeah.
So ensuring that footprint, that very first impression that you're making with your ideal client, so very, very important. You know, we were talking a little bit earlier before we started recording. You know, so many people take out these huge loans for their house or their car or their education, but all of a sudden, when it comes to investing in their business, they really hold back the reins.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that we as business owners make is, you know, not overcoming that fear barrier of making an investment. You
Right.
know, too many times we have that cost mentality, and
Right.
that ruins a lot of businesses when it comes to their online presence.
Totally agree. Totally
Yeah,
agree. Well, and I think that too, when we look at cash flowing out as an expenditure or an expense rather than an investment, if we think about the word investment, we're going to put something in and we're going to get more out. So
right.
when we look at, for example, the website that we're going to build, when we put money towards a high quality world class website that's going to create revenue, leads, whatever that goal is for the website, when we do that, then when we look at the other end, we look at the ROI, we're going to be able to measure what that investment has actually helped us to be able to do. And probably there's like intangible things that we can't measure too, like how many people clicked on it and went, wow, that's really cool, but I'm not the right fit. And they
Mm-hmm.
still liked the website, but they were attracted to it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. I think it's really and I think the same thing is true with leadership. I mean, people have this mentality of, oh, wow, this is an expense. But what they don't realize is that they're investing in their
Right.
company. They're investing in their company to be able to strengthen it and create the foundation for the next level. When you think of some of the um, biggest things that a business owner needs to consider when it comes to their website, what are like some of the, I don't know, your top 3, 5, whatever you can kind of think of? What are some of those things that you think are really important for a business owner to consider when they look at their website?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just I was speaking at Digital Academy Pittsburgh, and the title that the organizer came up with was the 4 biggest mistakes you've made on your website, something
Oh,
along those lines.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So things you need to consider. Um, Number one, call to action. This is the biggest missing piece that I see when I
Mm,
land on a website. There's no call to action. You're not telling me what you want me to do,
to
whether
do.
it's book an appointment, set up a phone call, fill out a form. You know, I'll land on a site and it's just the menu, a picture, and your logo.
Mm-hmm.
Huge mistake. Put on a call to action of telling me what it is you want me to do. How can I get in touch with you? Because if I
Mm,
do have a question, or if I do want to work with you, what's the best way for me to get in touch with you? So call
mm-hmm.
to action, number one. Number two, using professional photos. This is
Ah,
another thing that I see a huge mistake, um, especially for people who are DIYing their website. Um, don't use your smartphone pictures.
mm,
Take the
it's an
step to
investment.
hire a professional photographer to get you pictures of you in action, especially if you're a business coach and you do speaking engagements and all that kind of good stuff. You know,
Mm,
you want professional photos of you doing that. And another thing is too, as simple as this sounds, name, address, and phone number. You know, I mean, sometimes it's the small details that we forget the most, but that
yeah.
name, address, phone, that's very important. You know, whether it's up at the top or down in the footer, you know, someplace you need to have all of that information.
Mm,
But ultimately, the main goal of our website is to make revenue.
yeah.
Bottom line.
Right.
If we're not making revenue, we're not in business. So
So true.
ensuring that your website is a high performance website, it's really understanding who your ideal client is and what pain points you are providing a solution for.
Mm,
Because at the end of the day, that's where they're connecting with you.
yeah.
So understanding who that ideal client is, what are the questions they have when they land on your website? Why is it that
Mm,
they're even attempting to find you in the first place, right?
yeah.
So they obviously have an issue that you are providing an answer for.
Right.
That needs to be up front and center on your homepage,
Mm,
even on your hero image.
yeah.
You need to have something on there that when they land, you get those 3 seconds. You get those 3 seconds for
Yeah.
them to connect with you and draw them in and get them to do the scroll and get them to that point where they're either filling out that form or they're going, yes, you have my answer, I want to work with you.
Book an
That's what we're
appointment.
looking
Yeah.
for when we put
Right.
together our website. And
Yeah.
it's all of these different pieces, to that puzzle that form that journey for that ideal client to
Mm.
ultimately click, yes, I want to work with you.
I love it. So it's interesting as I was listening to you talk. It really as I'm listening to your journey, you're really coming full circle when it comes back to marketing. And there's something you said earlier. Really, everything is about marketing, and everything marketing is being able to share the fact that our prospects have a problem or have a situation, a challenge, and we have a solution, and we need to be able to speak to that and speak to that in the most effective way. So what's the process that you typically take a client through to be able to find out some of those things and really start the preparation for their website?
Right. So we do a discovery call. And on that discovery call, we're talking about who is your ideal client, because that's who we're speaking to.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've come across is people, when you ask them about keywords,
Mm,
the small business owner has their set of keywords that they think are being used, but then you
ah,
have your ideal client and the actual keywords that they're using to try and find you.
huh.
And this is where niching down becomes very, very important, right?
Mm,
So we have business coaches, but we have business coaches who have narrowed their niche down to impact leadership and forming a better culture, right?
yep. Yep.
So your ideal client, if that word culture and improving their culture is on their mind, then those are probably keywords that you want to use on your website.
Right.
So really understanding who that ideal client is the first thing that we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Narrowing down who their target market is, what are the words that they're using, what are the phrases that they're using, because we want to be sure that we're using those throughout the website,
Yeah.
because those are probably what they're typing in to find you. And then next is, what are they struggling with? Why are they on the search to find you? What is
Yeah.
their burning pain that they want to alleviate? And what is your solution for them?
Mm,
So finding out what those pains are and addressing them in such a way that when I'm reading your website, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're in my head.
yes. Right.
You're in my head and
Yeah.
you get me. And since you get me, I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Click, yes, sign
Yes.
me up,
Yes. Sign me
you
up.
know. Send me that email newsletter with all that great information that's going to help me be a better person, be a better business owner, make more revenue. Because
Right.
ultimately, like we said, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So we take them through that process, and it takes a little bit of time, but it's so well worth it, because in the end, your website is so much more robust, and it's so much more high performing,
Mm,
because those people are connecting with you.
right.
It's a digital platform, but we're looking to make that connection. And
Yeah.
so that's where a professional website designer and developer is going to help you. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
help you make that connection so that ultimately you are making the money from your website that you need to be.
And there's you used two words together that that I always pick up on words. You use two words together that I always use as it relates to culture, but you used it related to a website, and that's high performing.
Mhm.
And I like those words, and I like that phrase, because at the end of the day, if we're a business, if you're a business, if you're watching this and you're a business owner, you're a business leader, really you're in business for performance. You want to serve, and in order to serve, you have to perform. And so why just be average? Why not be high performing? Why not be world class? And so when you look at your website, when you look at your marketing, I think it's really important to be able to think about it in that frame, or that framework of a high performing website, a high performing marketing function or marketing platform.
Mhm.
It, who is, just out of curiosity, who is your typical avatar, your client? What, who do you need to speak to? I know you've talked about small businesses here for a little bit, so like talk to me about that. I mean, so there may be some people that are watching that may need to get in touch with you, and I'll ask you about that in
Yeah.
a second too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Our niche is the built environment. So anything that has to do with construction, engineering,
Oh,
architecture, that's kind of our niche.
okay,
However, that being said, we love to do all kinds of websites. So
sure.
we literally this summer just finished a website called Transplant Interface, which is a kidney transplant
Oh,
information central base for anyone who needs a kidney transplant can go onto this website and search all of the centers throughout the nation.
oh, cool.
It's a really high end on the back end. It's a very complex coded thing that
Really?
our coding guy was able to figure out. Yeah, and I'm not a coder, so
Yeah.
I just sell that we do coding. Um,
You just
so
know this is good.
yeah. So we love to do sites like that as well. So for
Okay.
marketing purposes, we do narrow and niche down into the built environment.
Yeah.
But that's not to say we won't do a business coach or a small
Hmm.
business. We'll cover anything
Sure.
because
Sure.
we love to do it all. But for marketing purposes, that's our niche.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, one of the things that I have a saying that came to mind when you were talking about the high performance website,
Yeah.
um, and it's this: the quality of your website matches the quality of your business.
Mm.
So when you are putting your website out there and it's maybe kind of lackluster, is that the impression you want to give your
Mm.
ideal client? And
Yeah.
is it an accurate reflection of the work that you do? If your answer to that is no, then it's time to level up and match the quality of your website to the quality of your business.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. That is so great. Yeah, I think that can apply in so many different areas, not only just websites, but your leadership, your people development, and being able to, Simon Sinek has a new book out called The Infinite Game, and he talks about a different mentality for business, about continuing just to level up, just to continue to play the game. And if we want to, just stop and not play the infinite game, and be able to just like stay status quo, then you're going to be like every other business. But if you're going to level up and you're going to match where you want to be and continue to grow, I think you're right. You have to be able to match your website with what your business is delivering. And so I love that phrase, and I love that saying. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So Ruthann, as we wrap up here, just how can people get a hold of you? What's the best place? Is there a platform? Are you on Instagram, LinkedIn? Like what's your social platform of choice?
Yeah, my social platform of choice is LinkedIn.
Gotcha.
Honestly, yeah,
Yeah,
I love LinkedIn. Um,
me
so
too.
you can find me on LinkedIn. EastCamp Creative also has a Facebook page, so you can
Okay.
find us on Facebook.
Awesome.
And I highly recommend visiting our website, which is eastcampcreative.com.
Cool.
There you get to see sort of a sampling of our style and our work. We tend to skew towards the very high end, sophisticated, modern type design, um, which to me, that's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
That's my favorite. So, and we take that style and we incorporate it into, like I said, any type of small business. If you're really looking to, like you said, level up, which
Hmm.
2020, if you haven't leveled up in a year or two,
Hmm.
2 to 3 years, it's time.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about people who are just starting out for a new website, but especially if you've had a website out for a while and it hasn't been touched or updated in a few years, make 2020 the year that you invest and level up on that, in that online presence. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. So I'll put your contact information not only in underneath the video, but wherever we post this, definitely it'll be on LinkedIn for sure, and
Yay.
definitely on YouTube as well. But Ruthann, I think you have had so many great things that we've talked about here today. As you think about 2020, as you think about your vision for the future, what are some things that you'd like to challenge our listeners to think about in the new year and in the new decade?
Well, I think I'm going to go read Simon Sinek's new book, because I really think that that whole idea of leveling up is what's going to separate your online presence from everybody else that does what you do.
Yeah.
More and more people coming up, growing up on the computer, they are becoming more savvy online purchasers. They're more savvy online consumers.
Yeah.
And they know when they land on a site that hasn't been touched in a while, that's been neglected, that does not have the user experience for them,
Yeah.
they're going to bolt.
Yep.
And if you're looking to grow your business in 2020 and beyond, then taking your website to that next level and making that investment in it, I think is crucial for your business success for the future.
I agree, and I love that challenge. So thank you, Ruthann, for being here. I appreciate you've given some such great actionable steps for business owners, business leaders, not only for their marketing but for their leadership. I think there's just so many great nuggets that we've uncovered here today in this conversation, and I really appreciate that. And thank you, listeners who are watching and who tune into this podcast. I really appreciate you watching, and we want to be able to serve you to the best of our ability. So Ruthann, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for sharing your journey with us. I love it. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I enjoy watching your podcast, and I always enjoy talking with you. We always have a great conversation, so I look forward to it.
We do. Yeah,
thanks
absolutely.
So much.
Thank you. And thanks so much for watching again. So until next time, be the leader.